So, long story short, that's what's going on. So, hopefully, if you committed a crime in in where I'm from, maybe I'll get to meet you. No, I'm rough. He'll turn, give, Terry, busting into the open field. There he goes. Jaden Terry Granville with an answer and another Bulldog lead. Give discouraged fake. This in the backfield, evading a man, throws out of a tackle, incomplete. Zeros across the scoreboard. Harper Woods have won the state championship, their first in school history, in unbelievable, thrilling fashion.
We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had
Fake handoff, guy up the middle, big hole, bursting over the 40 to the 45-50, angling right at the 40, 35-30, racing to the 25, 20, outside the numbers, 10, 5, touchdown, Muskegon, Mackay guy, 80 yards to the house. All right, welcome. Behind the Call, episode 5, because we've missed 2 of these, and now it's week 7. I had to do the same thing that started the other show, do the math of what it is. Nate Dreyer, Chandler Timmer. I don't know if I introduced our names before the last show. They knew who we are.
I hope
I'll
so.
put up a graphic.
Okay.
That's our faces. That's our guest this week, Aiden Lynch. He's been on air, broadcast intern. He also plays football for Hamilton because we're going home. We're Hamilton grads. We graduated 2 years ago. Fun fact. Plus.
Don't even do it. Don't do the math.
7, 8, not 8, 7, 2 plus 2016.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what we're doing a West Shore Game of the Week. It's 4-2 versus 1-5. You may be wondering, why is that a Game of the Week? Well, it kind of isn't. But it's a Game of the Week because it's their homecoming. Aiden plays on the team. It's his homecoming, or his senior night.
Senior night, yes.
It was homecoming last week in which they won, and then we went there. So it's whatever. Also, as I alluded to at the end of their show, I got to stay close because I have jury duty. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on the air. I've been fighting to get out of it. It didn't work out. So essentially, long story short, hopefully it's done, and hopefully I don't have it. Hopefully it gets canceled. Hopefully. Otherwise, it's just going to be, and it's going to be Fridays running through like for a little while here, or every other, or however it works out, how they've scheduled it. So. This could be fun for everyone. Chandler might be getting a lesson on setting up the equipment. I'm going to tell you that much.
Honestly.
So long story short, yeah. And again, I don't know how much at the end of we had a discussion at the end of Dog Pod about it. I don't know how much of it stays in. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say in terms of like what district I'm even in or like whatever. And I may have said that. Everyone knows where I live though.
Yeah.
Now it's not in that county.
Right. So that's why we're leaving to go to Allegan County and Hamilton.
Yeah. So that's why we're not. Yeah. So long story short, that's what's going on. So hopefully if you committed a crime in in where I'm from, maybe I'll get to meet you. No, I'm trying to get no. We'll see. It should be fun.
Yeah.
As long as I'm there in time. I actually censored myself on something right there.
I could tell.
Like, subscribe, follow, block us, whatever, on social media at MA Game Night. We have a store that we sell stuff through. It's called the MGN Shop. It's on our site, too. Aiden Lynch is on the program with us this evening. Here he is. All right, welcome back, everyone, to Game Night. Special guest here, and a voice that you've heard before on MGN. And he's going to be giving us some insight in a couple of different ways, both on and off the field, some of what he's got going on. Aiden Lynch, he's a senior at Hamilton. He's a football player, but also, of course, we know of him as a broadcaster on MGN. So first off, Aiden, how are you doing tonight? And thanks for your time.
Doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing good, thanks. And I mean, we were kind of joking earlier in the show. Chandler and I were of no pressure on you, but of these interviews, I don't think we've ever had a player that also is a broadcaster and has been on our network before. So certainly looking forward to having you on. And obviously, we're looking forward. This is the first time Chandler and I have been back to do a game at Hamilton since we graduated, just a year or two ago, right? But we're going to start on the field because this is an interesting group that you guys have this year going into senior night, because you guys lost a lot of key pieces, like Ben Bame, of course, at running back. And I think, it was probably not a team that people saw as one, or a lot of people from the outside saw as a team that was going to be making a big playoff push, being a 5 or 6 plus win team. But you guys have been just that, and are in position to probably put yourselves in the playoffs with a win this week. So, for you as a guy that's been on this team for 3 years now up on the varsity level, what about this team you think has rallied together and worked together so well to get to this point and be as successful as you guys have this season?
Yeah, no, I think the fact that we've been together for so long, we've done so much together. We have 20 plus seniors this year, which is a huge group of seniors. We haven't really seen that much in the past. And I remember back to freshman year when we went undefeated as a freshman team. Obviously, that didn't mean much, but we were excited to see what we could do and how we could grow. Yeah, we lost a lot of key pieces, Ben Bame, Justin McElwain, stuff like that. But I think with those losses, we gained in other areas. We found guys that can do a range and a variety of things. And we think that with the key pieces we have and the amount of talent we have and the variety of people to choose from for different situations, that really gives us an advantage, especially as a group of seniors who we've all worked together a lot, but we've also worked together a lot with the lower level. So integrating that together has been a key piece in being together and getting this team going.
You could tell he does color, folks, with that kind of answer you got there. Like I said, I knew this was going to be a fun interview for sure. Breaking things down, you mentioned guys that can play all over the place and that are very versatile. Well, you guys, defensively, yes, too, because you kind of will change some fronts and stuff. But offensively, this team has one of the most unique offensive setups I've ever seen, because you guys are very multiple. But not multiple just in the sense of, running some I form, running some shotgun here and there. You guys will run some flex bone, and then you'll break out of that, and you'll run some spread stuff off of it, too. Tell us a little bit about that, because like you said, you guys have to be very, very multiple and fit into different roles and really bring two completely separate offensive concepts together based on what's working.
Yeah, and that's another great point is we have a very smart and well-developed team. In the past, I feel like we've lacked it up in the head a little bit per se, but being smart and being able to know how to do all those things, we run a lot of plays and a lot of different formations, and that really throws off the defense. It's hard for a defense to be good against every single formation, and once we find the formation that's really working for us, until they make that adjustment, we're going to use that formation. So having multiple different bullets per se to be able to fire and having that ammunition ready to go and having different aspects and key aspects of the game ready is really huge and beneficial for us to throw off the defense and try to get stuff that maybe they haven't seen before, or, hey, this wasn't in film, we don't know what to do, right? And so lining up in those fronts really are key and beneficial for us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we described the offense, if anyone's played college football 25, if you fire up the Army offense playbook on there, how you have a little bit of shotgun, a little bit of the flex bone, like, it certainly is fun. And then, defensively, too, being able to shift the fronts. And it all comes back to Coach Cope. So this is his, I think, 6th year. And Hamilton's a program that, traditionally is not a place that has had a massive amount of football success. Obviously, I know that going back to when I was in school, I think we won 2 games. My 2 years, I would have, was a junior and a senior total. So he had quite the build to do and has done just that. And building, like you said, a veteran core here. Tell us about playing for Coach Copes, what he brings to the table, what he's instilled into this football team.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing was he came from a team down in Indiana, and he had won the state championship with that team. So getting a coach like that to begin with really helps. But also, he has Hamilton roots. He graduated from Hamilton. He played for Hamilton football. So that was another big thing for us. I think obviously with any new coach, you're probably going to start off rocky, right? Your first year, you're going to try to change things up. You're going to try to get your team onto a path that's a winning path. And so it took a little while, but I think we're now finally seeing it where Coach Copes is getting everyone into the groove of things, getting people unified and together, and he really, really runs the program well. He doesn't run just the varsity program. He runs varsity, JV, freshman, and he really helps out a ton with 8th grade, 7th grade, and Rocket football, and a lot of being involved with that, trying to get these players ready for when they come to their varsity year. I think that helps a lot because when we saw Coach Copes around in our 7th grade and 8th grade years, like, we kind of felt a little bit of a connection and, hey, this is what we're going into. And him getting the middle school levels to try to run the same exact stuff that we run here up at varsity. Obviously, we run more complicated stuff. That's been really huge. So we see it as they come up more that, you know, we're going to start winning more and we feel more together. And I think he has brought a ton to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And this game, Spring Lake, so a couple faceted question here. One, senior night, that emotional aspect, but also you're going up against a really well-coached team. Coach Mallory, of running some of the same stuff offensively out of the flex bone triple option as you guys. Physical team identity over there, some good players as well. Tell us some of the things you're looking for in this game, because I think we're looking for a really physical, and they may be 1-5, but I think this is a really, really solid matchup, and they're better than that record shows.
Well, yeah, and I totally agree. And that 1-5. It's kind of a little weird for us, right? Because they held their own against South Christian. South Christian is supposed to be a pretty decent team, or excuse me, West Catholic, I believe. West Catholic, they held their own against West Catholic. And then again, they lost to Wayland, and we had a huge win against Wayland. I believe that was a shutout game, if I remember correctly. And so it's just really weird. We kind of expect to see a lot of things. Physicality is a huge part of it. We have been working a lot against them cutting, them doing different things because we know that they tend to cut on their line. And so our defensive linemen have to go up against that kind of stuff. They've also got big guys, strong guys, and they may be 1-5, but they are one of the best 1-5 teams we've seen on film, like, in a long time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's what I thought kind of in my first, looking through. Obviously, Reed Grimmer, they've got a very good quarterback, too, especially at the center of things. It's going to be a fun game. I can't wait for it. Let's transition from on the field to where this interview goes different than most of our player interviews, which is into the broadcast booth. So, of course, many of you know Aiden on MGN Air. You've helped us out during basketball season, certainly, and that's where you have a lot of things going on broadcast-wise as well. I guess first kind of tell everyone what do you have going on in terms of on-air, on the mic coming up this winter? Where can they find you on some different broadcasts? And what do you have coming up this winter and behind the mic?
Yeah, so a huge thing I'm excited for is I've made a lot of different changes to the way I broadcast and the way I'm going to broadcast. I'm going to bring in a lot more graphics this year. I'm going to bring in a better camera. I'm going to try to do a lot of different things and integrate it in. I know it's my senior year and I want to go out with a bang, right? And then, so I'll be on the mic. I'm going to be at every home game for sure. I'm trying right now. We have a game at Van Andel Arena. I'm trying to work it in where I can announce that game with some of their stuff. So I got to see how that's going to work. But mostly we are transitioning over from YouTube to Huddle now. So we won't be showing me on YouTube anymore. I'll be on Huddle on their OK White or whatever the basketball team is in on that channel on Huddle. But also I've been told I'm probably going to be able to shadow some Big Ten Network stuff, so I'm super excited for that. You won't hear me on the mic there, but a lot of different things going on right now that I'm super excited about.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, it's certainly been fun to watch your progression, your growth, too, as a broadcaster. Of course, for those who don't know, Aiden was the viral snow day moment from your sophomore year, and then since, I think, watching the work you've put in to really improving as a broadcaster, and I can tell year over year, getting to work with you, how much, how much more confidence, succinct, and obviously it happens for everyone, better as a broadcaster. Certainly, I'm sure we'll all be seeing Aiden. He's got a MGN MSR media badge, so certainly we'll have you on with us, this winter. as well. But as you also mentioned, senior year, this year. So what are you kind of looking at options, college-wise and moving ahead in broadcasting to the next level?
So right now, I'm still heavily deciding and weighing out my options. Right now, I think I'm going to start off by doing some gen eds at GRCC.
Mm-hmm.
They have an option where I only have to pay $4,000 a year because I just have to pay the difference since I'm out of county. In-county students get free tuition. So I think that's going to be a huge benefit for me, cutting down on costs. And then after that, I'm going to see as far as what goes on for my future career, my future path, and my broadcasting career as well.
No, I think that's smart. I mean, I went to Grand Valley right away, but I think one of those things knowing now, and actually GRCC, I've actually worked for them some. They've got decent broadcast capabilities already on a lot of the games anyway that they're doing, so I think there's a program to be able to stay on the mic. And obviously, I think through MGN and MSR next year, I think certainly we'll have some options out there for you as well that we'll be able to work on. So, yeah, can't wait to see you Friday night on the field, and of course this winter as well. Thanks again, Aiden, for your time tonight, and good luck out there on Friday.
I really appreciate you having me on. It was great talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you.
All right, sounds good. Aiden Lynch, Hamilton. He plays football. He broadcasts with us. He broadcasts for Hamilton and a whole bunch else as well. Thanks to him for coming on. We're going to be right back here on Game Night.
We are Centennial Securities,
an independent firm with a team of committed professionals
who strive to exceed our clients' expectations by giving outstanding service.
We're proud to be part of our community where we live and work.
Gear up this season with the MGN Shop, featuring everything from t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats and outerwear, to water bottles, stickers, and other accessories that help show off your style and your support of Game Night, the Granville Bulldogs, and more. To shop, click on the Shop Merch tab at the top of MichiganGameNight.com and browse nearly 50 items. And be sure to check in frequently as new items are added throughout the season. That's the MGN Shop through MichiganGameNight.com.
Upgrade to Music Jams Premium to get uninterrupted listening on all your favorite tunes. Click here to start your 7-day free trial.
If it's important, it's not worth compromising. Which is why with Farmers, you don't have to compromise quality to get great savings on your insurance. I got this.
We are Farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Game Night is presented in part by Farmers Insurance, Bennett Center Agency, for all auto, home, specialty, life, and commercial insurance. See what a sinner can do for you. Welcome back to Behind the Call. Nate and Chandler. Thanks to Aiden for joining us. I'm sure we haven't recorded the interview yet, but I'm sure it was great. Well, no pressure to him because we've never had a kid on before for one of these interviews that literally works for us. So,
right.
He better have done a good job. I'm sure he did. So, yeah. That was Aiden. Now let's talk a little bit about Hamilton Spring Lake and our game of the week. So what's at stake in this game? So what makes this a game of the week? Well, of course, there's the notion of being senior night, being us going to Hamilton, the fact that 90% it should be video. Actually, that's on Aiden too. If there's not video, Aiden has to get me the huddle. He'll get me the huddle code. There's actually, if we don't have huddle, it'll be outside of his control why we don't, but we're going to blame it on him.
All right.
Normally it's your
finally
fault.
Not me. This
and
is
now it
nice.
goes to someone else this week.
Sorry, Aiden.
Yes. He catches my wrath for a week. So what's at stake? For Spring Lake, 1-5, not a ton. But for Hamilton, you look at their schedule, and I was looking at some different playoff things. They can get to 5 wins this week. They've not made the playoffs since the COVID season when everyone made the playoffs, I believe. Is that correct what I just said?
Correct.
Okay. So they can get to 5 wins, and you look at their schedule, which is decent this year in terms of playoff points. They're probably in with 5 wins. They're probably out with 4. Now, you look at their schedule, Chandler. Who do they play the next 2 weeks?
They've got West Catholic the following week and Zeeland East.
You know who Zeeland East just beat?
They
just beat South Christian. So, and we've seen them, and they're actually really good.
Yeah.
So here's the deal, and I'm not saying Hamilton's not really good. Maybe we'll be really big into them after seeing them. They do some really unique things. But this is a very good chance if they're going to do it, especially in their final home game. This is where they make it happen. So that's kind of the 1,000-foot view of this game. Let's break down a little bit generically of what we're going to expect in this football game. Let's talk about the systems. We always like to start with that. So it is flex bone versus flex bone. However, that's not all when it comes to the Hamilton Hawkeyes. If anyone has ever played with the Army Black Knights on College Football 25, where you can run a flex bone offense or you can just run, there's more spread triple option. Essentially, let's marry the concept of it's a multiple offense. When you think multiple offense, you normally think like East Lansing, who runs I-form and a shotgun and a pistol, and that's kind of what they do. That's how they're multiple, or like what Bill Snyder ran at Kansas State for all those years. So what they've done here at Hamilton under Coach Copes, who's a flexbone guy, they have some spread people in their program. We may or may not know these people and had them as teachers. They have some spread people, let's call them, in their program. And a couple of years ago, the flexbone was kind of struggling. They had some really good weapons that were working more in a spread. So what did they do? Well, they're literally going to run spread and it isn't just always spread run and spread triple option concepts. It's spread, they'll run real spread borderline, not air raid pass concepts, but even some half field read type pass concepts out of the spread. So they'll go flexbone for a couple plays. They'll spread you 3 wide out of the gun with an H-back. It is it's unlike anything. The only thing we've seen that's close is Ralph Munger's final season. That's the only thing that I can remember that's close to what this team does.
Yeah. I think it's very unique, and a lot of times when you get kind of into these offenses like the T or the flexbone like this, it's teams just kind of stick strictly to that, and you don't really see a lot of variation from it. So to see them kind of bring this completely different spread type offense in there and be able to throw a completely different look on that side of the ball, I think it originates out of necessity, but I think it's something that's now starting to work a little bit for them. And when a defense has to prepare for the uniqueness of the flexbone and the different motions and options out of that, and then all of a sudden you can completely switch it up and now you're going to spread concepts, it's really difficult for a defense to respect that and have to be prepared at all times for it. So really unique, and I'm curious to see live kind of how they mix and match that and what the timing and the situations for when using the different styles of offense will be. But very unique combination of offenses.
Yeah, and if you've ever, like you were mentioning, I know Coach Johnson at Georgia Tech, when he was running, he would say, because he had several kind of quarterbacks and teams that they were essentially being told you should run. They had almost in practice experimented with some shotgun kind of split backfield sort of stuff, and he never did it because his thought was, and this is the way that, for example, Coach Mallory at Spring Lake does things, because they also are a flex bone, that we're going to stay in the flex bone, and that's what we are going to run, because then the defense is going to just have to look at that time and time again, and if you give them different cues, that might be where they can pick up on stuff. So Spring Lake, on the other side, if you saw any of Cadillac, this is Coach Mallory's third year here. He was at Cadillac before. So in particular, his final game at Cadillac was the Snow Bowl in 2 foot of snow against Unity Christian during the big Unity Christian run, and they played Unity Christian, frankly, game long. And it was, again, we were in a blizzard and a half, but they played Unity probably as well as anyone did that playoff run, except for Chelsea for those 14 minutes at the end of the game. And they did it because they operate it well and they stick to it. And it's typically the 2 wide receiver base, flex bone, and a real depth, multiple guys at every spot out of that flex bone. Again, we know what this offense is. It's different if you watch Army or Navy, because Army's running again this year. So if you watch Army, Navy, Air Force, you understand this is what people call the triple option offense. It's out of the flex bone formation. It utilizes motion. It can be passed out of very well. Actually, Spring Lake has a lot of balance to their offense. We'll talk about that with their quarterback play in a little bit. but a very balanced offense in a lot of ways that can run at you in a lot of different ways, almost exclusively with some sort of threat of an option of some nature built in.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what makes it difficult to defend is much like the T offense, you're reading the different motions and you've got different things along the line that you're trying to pick up on, but they've also are spread out a little bit more, and with the motions across the field are a little bit easier to get to spread the field out wide and get the ball out quickly. I think also able to pass the ball and drop back and pass in situations a little easier out of this offense as well. And so I think it makes it kind of difficult. You can see a defense get confused really easily when you've got guys running in motion, going across the backfield different ways, and you've got the triple option stuff in there, and it's just it's a lot to try to keep up with because it can kind of hitch pretty quick, and they can get the ball out in space in different ways.
And that was always like Coach Johnson or even Coach Munkin at Army. I think he's talked about why he prefers this is it is so quick hitting, because when you're under center with that B-back, the fullback, essentially 2 paces behind you, his arm in the dirt, that initial dive read that, for example, like in Liberty's offense, when they run the spread triple option, that dive, or what Vandy did time and time again to Alabama last weekend, because Chris Klinakis is their line coach there now, who was the Nevada and Louisville guy when Kaepernick and Lamar were at those respective schools. So I think there's some influence there. But that initial read, everything we're saying is true for Hamilton too, by the way.
Right.
But everything we're saying for that initial read hits you so fast in the mouth, and then you have to make that read off the edge and then you have to guess, is this a midline read where the defensive tackle is being read, or is it an outside veer read where the outside edge is being read and unblocked, and then you have to deal with the pitch off of that or the counter or whatever else they run. Let's talk some personnel with this game of that we're looking at. First off, for Spring Lake, Reed Grimmer. I picked him as my conference player of the year before the year started. Team struggled. He has not, though. He's been really, really good. Again, threw for 2 touchdowns and threw for like 130 yards last week in a loss that they put up quite a few points against Forest Hills Eastern, who we know how good they are, especially up front. So he's really good. Petrulia, the quarterback, Grant Petrulia, the quarterback for Hamilton, does a lot of the same things, but Grimmer, 3-year varsity experienced player. This is a great quarterback battle, but it's also a quarterback battle that they're put in different positions. Grimmer is exclusively, Coach Mallory talks about it, a terrific triple option quarterback that's balanced in a dual threat, but he does it out of the flex bone, versus Petrulia is asked to do a lot of different things. He's asked to also be a spread passing quarterback or a spread zone read quarterback, along with being a triple option quarterback.
Yeah, I think that you see the difference in how they utilize the quarterback position and just the type of play calls that they have there. I think for Spring Lake, you see a little bit more of using the quarterback as a threat with his legs, and making the defense respect the triple option and the quarterback being able to keep the football and using his speed. Can also pass the ball, as we mentioned, out of the flex bone, but for the most part, using him as a weapon in that backfield for the Hawkeyes. Petrulia, just a smart player that knows how to run the offense, can run the flex bone as far as getting the ball to his playmakers in the backfield and run the pitches as well, but is also good enough of a passer and is comfortable enough in the offense that they can spread you out, and he can run that and they don't lose anything and are still effective using the same quarterback.
And what's interesting, we talk about this balance, but I think a good question will probably be something we'll bring up in our Chandler's Chalkboard segment during the game is you think about Hamilton. Is this maybe the game that they run the least flex bone they do all year because they're playing another flex bone team? Mm-hmm. So you kind of wonder that that's similar to like how Zeeland West was breaking out of their T when they played the other T, where maybe the team that has that alternate option will be able to break out of it because of what they're seeing. I texted one of the coaches on the staff and I said, as everyone knows, the running joke is here, Nate hates the pass game. I said, hey, I'm coming this week. Make sure we dial up some extra flex bone. I hate that modern passing stuff. I don't know if he necessarily agreed with that, but regardless. So yeah, that's really so the running backs. I want to get into, and these are two-way guys as well. And I just want to kind of quickly touch on all this. We won't get too much in the weeds on this game too much, but you've got Oliver and Owen Smize Juniors for Spring Lake. One plays the halfback position, one plays the fullback, one of a couple fullbacks they have. Very physical kids, and that also is on the defensive side of the ball. And then Alex Batka, their leading free safety, along with also he'll be one of their halfbacks for a lot of the plays as well. The motion, the wing backs, whatever you may call it. I think A back is the technical term, and B back is the fullback if we're getting specific on it. For Hamilton, so their thing is they're replacing Ben Bame, who was their B back and their leading tailback last year, All-State. He went to Harding. So if you know anything about Harding, I do. My team lost to them in the in the national playoffs last year. If you know anything about Harding, they run the flexbone, and they just won a national championship, killing everybody running the flexbone. So Hamilton has lost their guy at that spot to honestly the best non-service academy triple option you can go to, because Kennesaw doesn't run anymore. Georgia Southern used to run. That's where Munkin was before years ago. So whatever. So now you've got fullbacks. Yeah, Hawkins and Bronkhorst, really physical guys. Cy Barons as one of your either A-backs or receivers. And again, the thing with Hamilton is all these guys have to be multifaceted, and they are. So, they can have a guy that can be a power back at B-back. He can be a power back out of the spread. It's all these Hamilton guys have to be very multifaceted versus Spring Lake very deep at these positions, and they have guys all for specific roles.
Yeah, I think so. That's kind of a unique difference there as far as just built into the kind of what we talked about with Hamilton and having that variation in their offenses. You got to kind of have positionless weapons, essentially, where you can rotate them, where you just got to have guys that are comfortable with the football in their hands, and you can get it to them different ways. The formation might be different in how you do it and the motion to get there, but you kind of have to have guys that are just able to make plays, and then you put them in the different spots, and you can rotate them around. And for Spring Lake, I think much more of when you just stick into that base flex bone, you've kind of got the roles already assigned for what they do as far as who's your speed back, who's your power back, who's going to be the guy that gets to the outside, and then who's, able to hit the trap up the middle or the dive up the middle. So I think there, even though it's the same at times, is going to be both out of the flex bone. The kind of the way they use their weapons is going to be different.
Yeah, for sure. So 6:30, we're on the air for that one, and we'll kind of leave it there, and we'll dig into things, of course, more live. We'll have the Aiden interview again in the pregame show and plenty of stuff to preview. We'll probably both be wearing like mustache disguises or something to make sure no one recognizes us, or depending on who it is, no one recognizes us.
That's gonna be our first time in the Hamilton press box.
Yeah. So in high school, you never did a football game.
I did not.
So he started doing basketball our senior. Actually, our senior year, Chandler actually outside, and he's gotten better. Chandler's one of the quietest people, especially in high school, you've ever met in your life. And I would have never labeled him as being someone that could do color. I mean, that's a fair take, right?
I'm not arguing.
I don't. Certainly would have not thought that. But I think you're always kind of hanging around the broadcast, whatever, a little bit. So I had someone else that played on the team that did football. He definitely didn't want to do basketball. So I'm like, all right, let's try Chandler. And then, should have done that 3 years ago. And certainly that's why we brought you to MGN shortly after. And regardless, long story short, you have actually never done a Hamilton game. You've been around it, and I can't remember if you've done – because were you doing halftime reports for us on those broadcasts during that football season?
I wasn't. I wanted to be really badly, but I was actually in band.
Oh, that's right.
Every home game, I was sitting in the bleachers.
Okay, that's why you couldn't. Now I remember what, because now I'm putting it together, because I remember being stumped trying to find a color guy for our senior year, and now I understand what happened. So we're going to do a new segment here, and this is actually going to be essentially what our whole show. So next week, tune in, because our plan is we're going to go through. I don't have the scores on it, but we're going to go through every single game we've ever done on MGN.
Okay.
Mostly Grandville games, of course, and we're going to try to remember what happened and see what the result was roughly. And then whatever.
Okay.
I think I'm going to kick your butt at this game.
No, you are, yeah.
We've already been texting about it. I'm a freak because I went my freshman year at Grand Valley. I did our women's hockey team the first year, did all the games, and I rattled off to Chandler off the top of my head the results. I didn't even know were in there from the first 10 games of that season my freshman year of college. So I'm a freak. Everyone knows that. But we're now going to do a segment based on that. We're going to say the scores, and we're going to try to remember something. And we're just going to say the scores mostly, and if we have any notes, we'll add notes of games that we got to do in high school. So this might be a little bit of a statement on we are very bad luck. when I'm especially doing games in Hamilton. So first off, my junior year, we only did 2 games because there were only 2 home games after the year started. Okay, ready? So first, so Zeeland West, this is 2014-2015. So this is the year. I don't think they won the state championship in 15, our senior year. Mm-hmm. I do not think I don't know if they went. Did they go back to back? Regardless, they were within a round or 2 of winning. So we lost that game, 60-20. I don't remember a ton from it. I'm not gonna lie. And then the final game I did. So for the final game we did, it was called Hawkeye Game Day. Everyone, you can find it on YouTube. And it was a college game. It was an incredible production. And we went out there, we made our predictions, and I think we picked Hamilton to win because we were, whatever. They played Byron Center, who was really good that year. And I believe Hamilton's quarterback, I think the quarterback got hurt, and they were playing one of the receivers at quarterback for that game.
Yep.
So they lost 64-8.
Oof, almost had him.
Yep. So then we go to our senior year. This is just a terrific segment. This is actually a lot of fun for me. So then the first game we did, oh God, this one. The first one we did our senior year was the Allendale game. And Allendale was not very good that year. Allendale was, they were 5-4, so they were not a playoff team. The Allendale came in, and they had the speedy little slot receiver. And he scored 6 touchdowns. And it set a school record. And I remember that for the rest of my life. I can't remember his name. It was Schneider or something. It started with an S.
Yep.
And then Unity Christian came to town, and this was the first. So everyone remembers the Chandler twins, but there were the Boss twins before that in their backfield. This was a close one when it came to Hamilton versus T teams while we were in school. This one was 41-14. And then there's the game I remember more than most, which was Holland. So Holland came to town on October 9th of 2015, and we were on the call. I was on the call. Chandler was playing music. And Hamilton lost this game. You're seeing a trend. Hamilton lost this game 39-28. However, I believe they led by like 3 scores at the half. And I believe what happened is Holland had a certain basketball player at this era whom went on to play at the next level. Mm-hmm. But I believe he was also a terrific athlete in general. And he was, my understanding, kind of playing wildcat quarterback for them. And he was suspended-ish for the first half. I don't know why this game was something. And he was kind of suspended-ish for like the first half or first quarter or something, and then he got to play after that because for some reason he didn't start the game, then he was just playing mid-game out of nowhere. And Hamilton lost 39-28. By the way, that year Holland went 2-7 that year.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. They had 1 win going into that game. I remember sitting in the bleachers in that one thinking, we got a chance. This might be a win, might be a home win.
So then my senior night of calling football games, and the team's senior night as well, final time, it's the rival Holland Christian. Holland Christian came in that year, and this was kind of an in-between year. No, they weren't very good either. Holland Christian they were 3-5 coming into this game, okay? And they won 48-7. And I remember, I think we were sitting next to, I believe at the time, it wasn't HTC, but I think Holland Christian had their own broadcast team. I remember sitting next to them. I don't remember any other details about that game. I actually kind of forgot about it, except for now. I remember sitting next to them. I remember I had a spotting board. I remember other details about that team and people on it, but and yeah. And then yeah.
Okay.
That's
all I got to say about that.
Yeah. There's some good rivalries on and off the field with people.
Yeah. I knew it was bad, but looking back to our final 3 years of high school,
I put this down and I didn't I actually didn't look at the scores when I came up with this idea until we just did that.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Nope. A lot of blowouts.
I broke the news of the coach being fired. Fun fact.
You did.
I was tipped off. We beat the Holland Sentinel by 20 minutes.
How'd that go?
I had a coach quote ready to go for it, so it was nice. It was fine. I also broke. No, we didn't break the coach firing news. That was a nicely put together. It was the coach hire news.
Okay.
I was tipped off. We were in, so they were hiring back an old coach that had been with them before. Was in the building. And I was tipped off, and I was in science class or whatever, and then the sports journalism class, like 4th hour. And I was in science class in 2nd hour, and I was called down to the sports journalism teacher's thing, who I think wound up being an assistant coach on the team a couple years later again, because he had been one, is one. And I went down there, and he said, all right, we're going to break news that we're rehiring whatever is the head coach, and you're going to beat the Hound Sentinel the story. I said, okay, great. So I was tipped off. But that's my one piece of breaking news I have. There was a story, by the way, a big story in Michigan high school football about a team that had to vacate wins. Could have broken that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I could have if I wanted to, which is funny because I knew it before they were X amount of weeks. They were like whatever, and I knew it before. Like it was the first 3 weeks. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. The first 3 weeks, I'm not saying it was public, not public, but it was people knew. If it got to me, people know. I had heard about it after week 1, and they had to give up 3 weeks, so they had to forfeit 3 weeks, and Nate Dreyer of Michigan Game Night in West Michigan, knew it about after week 1.
There you go.
Any other thoughts? Newsbreakers.
Yeah, honestly.
Okay. Yeah. That's probably good for the show. Do you have anything else to talk about?
No.
No other breaking thoughts? Okay.
I don't have any breaking news, if that's what you're asking. Okay. I mean.
Yeah, we've done the 4 downs thing. There's nothing that much to talk about this week. I don't think. Watch the game. 6:30, Friday night. MichiganSportsRadio.com, MGN YouTube page. Should be video. Aiden? Should be video. If it's not, it'll be Radio Plus. Everyone knows how it works. We're running out of steam. What a great show. We're going to Hamilton. Hopefully I'm going to be there. Chandler might be doing the game alone.
I might be doing it solo. We'll see.
Who knows? I might be. I mean, you never know. I've been told we're supposed to be out in time.
Okay. I mean, I can't imagine. I've never heard of jury duty going that late into
I
the
know,
night,
but also I've never heard of like this schedule that we're on where it's like once a week for all these weeks.
No,
but also I was told it might go long and there's nothing you can do about it. So I was gonna ask am I what's the punishment if I just walk at 3:00? Is it a payment? Is it a jail? I might go to jail for you people. I might walk out of my jury duty assignment. I might go to jail for you people.
Yep.
This is gonna really hold me liable if I do something stupid, isn't it?
Straight from the jury, then you're gonna be the next one getting tried.
Yeah. For you.
For the people.
For the people.
That's how committed he is to this game.
Hamilton versus Spring Lake. Friday. See you then. Thanks, Aiden, for coming on. Bye. I don't have my pen to throw at you.
I always forget that, too, so.